This is Kickin' and Streamin' Podcast, a binge watcher's guide to streaming movies, TV series, and stuff. Here are your hosts, Graham and Jocelyn.
And hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kickin' and Streaming Podcast. My name is Graham, and with me today, as usual, here she is, the absolutely fantastic Jojo. Hello, Jojo.
Howdy do, Graham.
Howdy do to you, young madam. Howdy do to you. How was your week, Jojo?
It was all right. It was all right.
Yeah?
I've had better weeks. I've had worse weeks, but you know.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Right. So today we are happy to be talking about a series that I seriously don't know why I haven't seen more people talk about this series.
I know. I think it's sort of popular. Like I think people are watching it but not talking about it. So I don't.
That's the thing, because I think it's at least top 3, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. But I've not seen anybody or heard anybody discuss it, and I don't know if people are like embarrassed to talk about it or don't know how to bring it up, or like I don't know.
I think we should go ahead and say it, even though it's written right here. We are talking about Squid Game, the K-drama. I think by far the most popular K-drama that Netflix has come up with.
I think so, yeah.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't know that I was going to fall for this show. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and watch an episode, because what the hell is Squid Game?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when I read the synopsis about it, I'm like, well, this has been done before. This is another survival type of
yes,
series,
Hunger Games, The Greatest Game. I'm trying to remember the other one, Battle Royale. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I start watching these, and like, yo, first game on, and I'm like, well, so that's it? Damn. Really? So that's how you get eliminated. Okay, I'm gonna watch this shit right here. I am going to watch this, man. Are you kidding me? You know.
Yeah.
So this is how we kind of got caught on this Squid Game. With that said, Jojo.
This one is hard to talk about. This one is hard. It's just hard to come up with a synopsis of. Hi, Chihuahua. So it's about a group of people who are at a very desperate part of their lives. They all owe quite a bit of money to somebody, whether legitimately or illegitimately. And they are approached by a mysterious benefactor, if you will, who offers them a place in a game. And if they accept it, they call this number, and they get whisked away to this thing. And none of them have any clue what it is or what's going on, other than if they win the game, they get a huge cash prize. It'll wipe out all their debts, and they'll be happy and joyful for the rest of their lives. And it is kind of like Battle Royale or Hunger Games or some of the other survival things that you've seen in that, or the Greatest Game, in that it is actually a rigged setup. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying that. A rigged setup for rich people to watch poor people, and kind of like a psychological study on what people will do out of desperation, I think, as well as a power trip for the VIPs who are watching the Squid Game. So lots of drama unfolds. There's lots of partnerships, and we follow one character pretty much, but we also follow the story of other characters that he interacts with. And the ending is wild. The whole show is wackadoo, but in a good way. It's bonkers, incredibly violent, incredibly bloody, that take all of the warnings seriously that come up with the first episode and all the episodes, but so not with the kitties, unless you're raising a particular kind of kitty. But it's I hate to say it's good fun, because it's sort of horrible. It's a horrible premise. It's the most disgusting parts of human nature, but the show is very watchable. It's very entertaining.
Yes, it's probably humanity's favorite kind of train wreck, if you will.
Yeah.
Because you know what you're watching is disgraceful, is horrible. But it's sort of like watching, I don't know, the Kardashians, a bit more embarrassing than that, if you will.
Yeah. Which maybe that's why nobody's talking about it, because people are like, crap, if I tell somebody at work that I like the Squid Game, they're going to be like, what is wrong with you?
What is your problem, dude?
Whereas I think most people are going to be like, yeah, I watched it too and I really enjoyed it. Can we talk about it like at lunch break or something?
Yeah. And this is where we come in. Like, why are we talking about this?
Yeah.
Well, because we kind of did enjoy it, innit?
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about this show in comparison to other shows that are similar, and why this show is unique in its own way. Mm-hmm. Because, as we've said, this has been done before. This is not new survival series or survival movies have been done. Now, for me, there are two reasons why this show is unique. Number one is the fact that it deals in the real present world, as opposed to most survivalist movie where everything mostly takes place either in a utopian or in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yes.
Isn't that right, Jojo?
Yes, that's completely right. Yep.
That's basically the theme in almost all of these movies or series that deal with survivalism is the fact that, well, the world went bonkers, and those who have the most are now in charge, and now they're playing whatever they feel like playing with the poor people. This is not the case at all in this one. This one is real now and then. And these people, and I feel like there is a social context as a matter of indictment to the system, in the sense that this talks about how in most developed countries, as in poor countries, when poor people disappear for days in and days out, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Only their loved ones. In that context, anything could be happening to these people.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things that I see in this series. The other thing I see in this series that I actually loved is that it is uniquely Korean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about his contract with Netflix or whatever, but Netflix could have been like, no, you're going to set this in the Midwest and we're just going to translate your work or whatever, So it is definitely, as you said, very Korean and has to deal with the Korean people's struggles, the Korean people's culture, and it's something that's universal. I think it translates very well, and I don't think it's anything that you're going to be going like, I don't understand this at all.
I don't get this,
right, because it's foreign, but at the same time, also kind of broadening your mind a little bit to be like, oh, people in Korea do have the same kind of problems that we have, or they owe a lot of money and to people and that kind of thing. I know, like, there's in the background of one of the scenes where there is like a newscaster talking about the gross national debt and how much it's gone up over a certain amount of time and that kind of thing. And I have no problem, I'm sure that's quite true. And I think it's kind of a way to put an idea on the plight of the normal, if you will, or the general populace of Korea and other areas that are like, yeah, I can have things, but I'm going to have to go in debt that I'm never going to pay off, that my children are going to be paying for the rest of, their lives, just for me to have gotten a house.
Look at the level of inflation, for instance, when they talk about money. Like 10,000 won is like, I don't know, the equivalent of maybe $20 or something. Like, they talk about millions like it's nothing.
Yeah, there was one guy in the crowd, I think, that owed over $1 billion to somebody for something, and it, not like, our protagonist is a gambler, and so he owes money to bad guys, but not everybody that's there is in that particular situation. I mean, some of them made very poor decisions in terms of embezzlement and that kind of thing. But I also think
Right.
that's kind of a social commentary on the fact of I have to embezzle something to be able to feed my family, or I have to play the horses with some very bad people to try to get my daughter a birthday present, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So I think there's a bit of social commentary with that too. But again, not everybody playing the game is there for nefarious reasons or whatever. They just got in debt and it got out of hand. You could say that at some point they're under false pretenses because of the whole elimination and what that actually means. But at the same time, I think the first game, the red light, green light, really illustrated the fact that if you put somebody through something horrible or traumatic, they're going to get down to the point where it's, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to survive because that's what I have to do. And I think on a broader scale, you could sort of equate that to working in the sense of, we've all had jobs where we go out and cry in the car and then we go back in and we finish the rest of the shift like we have to. And I'm not equating that to people being eliminated, but in the same, but it's kind of the same sort of I don't know, mental trauma in the sense of we're all being forced to do something that we really, really don't want to do because we have to.
Yes. Yes. It's a question of those who can take advantage of our will to just survive.
Yes, that's it exactly. Thank you. You put it in words for me.
Hey, at least once in a lifetime, I have to be able to do that. You do that for me every show, basically. So let's talk about the director and the creator of the show. His name is Dong-yul, or as Koreans would call, will start by the last name. In most Asian cultures, family name goes first. So he would be Hwang Dong-yul. And a lot of questions have been asked as to how did he come up with this show? How did he come up with this series? And most people started to speculate whether it was some kind of anime or manga or this or that, or based on a comic book. And the short answer is no, he didn't base, this wasn't based on a comic book, but he did take inspirations on several different type of stories by reading a lot of comics. And exactly what he wanted to do, it was like, okay, I know that the survival trope is not dated, but a quite used one. So let me then create something that Koreans can be proud of, but also the rest of the world can relate to. And I think this is where, for me, his genius is, okay, well, what's being missing? What's being the element that everybody seemed to use when creating this type of show? It's always post-apocalyptic. So how do we adapt this to today's world? Is this something that could take place today? And the crazy thing is, Jojo, none of it is improbable, isn't it?
No, it really isn't. I think that is a part of the reason that makes it sort of bonkers and wackadoo is the fact that this could actually be happening. There are more billionaires in the world than there ever have been before. And I have no problem with believing that most of them are psychopaths and sociopaths, because lots of people who make it in business big are. And quite a few of them are not spending their money on any sort of charitable causes. So why not? I mean, I'm not trying to get conspiracy theory or weird or anything like that. I'm just saying that at some point, this is certainly something that could happen. I mean, we could even swing into the whole Epstein thing and human trafficking. And that was, that was a sexual thing that was happening. But at the same time, that's horrific trauma and terrible things that are happening to people that are poor, disadvantaged, who don't really want to be doing this, but don't know of any way out.
Once you find yourself in that situation, this is when survivalism kicks in.
Yes.
Like, I'm already here. So this is just a question of trying to make it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I'm just going to try to get through this and hopefully I can get home, or, hopefully I'll win it or whatever. But, let's just get through it, because obviously there's no other option.
Yeah. There are some holes in this story also. The series started to film in 2019. So it took about 2 years to do all 9 episodes. From all of my research, I think we can expect at least a second season.
I'm thinking so too. From the ending, they kind of gave us an ability to have a second season. And I think that with the popularity of it and the good reviews of it, I think that, Netflix will probably spring for another season.
I think they did a great job at giving you a slight bit insight into almost everybody's background stories, but in a very light way.
Yes.
And I think we could go a bit further in.
Yes.
So a couple of fun facts about this show that I like. Okay. So number one fun fact is, do you remember that card that people are given to, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it just turns out that it happens to actually be somebody's phone number.
Oops.
Somebody.
Oops.
So there is a man who is identified as Mr. A. He has gotten so far at least 24,000 messages.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. I'd be losing my mind.
He said, at first, I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. Like, what game? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is not. And so all of a sudden, he started telling his friends what's happening to him. And they're like, yeah, you just happen to have the same number that shows up on this show. And he looked at it and was like, that's my number. So he contacted the production company, which in turn made it aware to Netflix. And they're trying to fix the situation. I don't know if it's an edit or a reshoot or something. But the fact of the matter is, Mr. A right now is getting some phone calls, very weird ones at that.
I bet. Man, he if he was an unscrupulous person, he could be making some money.
Yes.
Just give me your name, your social security number, your date of birth, and I will get you set up in the game. And your mother's last name, your mother's maiden name. Yes. Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the cast of this. And we're going to talk about the cast because it's part of what we do. But there is not really much we know. Unless you are really into K-drama, you don't know these actors. But I suspect that they have gained a whole lot of recognition, and you will know them once you see them next time somewhere else, because this cast is absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about Jung. Was played by Jung Lee. He has quite a curriculum, and he's got a master's degree in theater, and he has won some of South Korea's most prestigious awards. But he doesn't seem to have a huge movie curriculum. He's been in a couple of movies here and there, and he's been nominated for some of the most prestigious awards in Korea for his appearance in movies. But a lot of people have more of a cinema pedigree than he has in this series. The actress who played Saebyeok, Kang, who was in this case a North Korean immigrant young woman, her name is HoYeon or Jung HoYeon, and she is a model. She makes pretty much most of her living as a model, and she's obviously been acting, but man, she's got a future in this one, because this was a complicated little character that she played.
Yes.
And it was great. She was great. I think she was great.
I think she was great too. Yeah.
One of my favorite characters there was number 70. Her name was Ji-ha Lee. She too is a former model, and she has been in many, she's been acting for a while. That's all I can say. She has been acting for a while.
She was fabulous. I loved her character, and I loved her portrayal of it.
There was a guy in this series who played, he was he played a Pakistani character in the show. His name was Ali.
It looks like the actor hasn't filled out his bio on IMDb. He hasn't been in a huge amount of things.
And what's his name here?
Anupam Tripathi.
I like this character. It's an amazing thing. Like I said, there was a lot of social compasses here, and two of them were two very different types of immigrants, right? You had a political immigrant to a certain extent, in the sense that she was a North Korean defector. And then you had the Pakistani immigrant who you could say was almost willing to go onto a role of a subservient role, if you will, in order to survive. It's almost like I'm going to latch myself onto somebody who can protect me,
Yes,
and who can make me feel secure.
yes,
Right? And I think that was a good element here. There's not a lot about this show that, in terms of writing and directing, that I can really complain about. The biggest hole for me here is the story of the frontman. How did he end up here? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And how did he get so far?
yeah.
I have to, like, I need closure with the frontman.
Yeah.
And we're not going to reveal what happens here, but we have to figure it out,
Yeah,
because that was weird.
yeah, I agree.
Excellent show. And as we said, Jojo, we have to figure out why more people aren't talking about it.
I think it's gonna be the thing where it's gonna be like, hey, have you seen Squid Game? And if they just look at you funny, you're like, oh, it's just a TV show.
Yeah. Also, in conclusion, Jojo, what do you think of this show? Where should we put it? What kind of status should we give it? In what you've watched this year, in this last 9 months of the year 2021, where does this rank?
I think I give it a solid 3 stars.
Yeah.
Solid 3. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 stars is perfectly fine. Right, so this is the moment for us to tell you that if you like this podcast, if you just stumbled on this podcast, you liked it, please go ahead and let us know that you did. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe for when we post a new show. Okay? So, once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And this is the point where, for me and for Jojo, right?
Yeah.
We're going to call it a day. Right, Jojo?
That's right. Bye, everybody.
Yes. Ciao, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Kickin' and Streamin' Podcast. If you found value in our content, please subscribe and share. We would also be delighted to hear what you think of this podcast. So please rate us by writing a quick review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all major social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Join the conversation happening today on our Facebook group.